Welcome to the Hokie Hoops podcast. I'm your host, Pete B. I've got Ed Williams here. Just a duo today. No Mike, but we're going to do this, Ed, because we had a couple of good games by both the men and the women last week, and we got some important games coming up. So last time we talked about the men's team in basketball, we were 6-8. Now we're 7-9. We went on that West Coast road trip, and we stole one. And I'll leave, even though we kind of led both of those games, it did kind of feel like we ended up stealing one of them when it was all said and done. Was that your take on it?
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like since the calendar turned to conference play overall, the men have been playing better basketball and gave me a little bit of hope as they went out west for that, two-game swing against our new ACC foes, Stanford and Cal. I thought they played really well in both games, had a chance to win both games. But we'll dive into it more. But yeah, overall, I was pretty happy with coming back with that split.
And just last episode, we were gushing about Ben Hammond and his new role as the starting
Yeah.
point guard. And as soon as the broadcast starts, it's like he's in a walking boot. He's not playing. I'm in on the boards. I'm asking you what's going on. Mike Young had said it was a hairline fracture in his foot. Then it was fifth metatarsal, maybe. But now they're saying he could be back. What are you hearing in terms of him playing this week?
Who knows, man? It's people give Mike Young a hard time for the way he talks about injuries publicly, and probably some of it's earned, some of it's unearned. But who knows? I'll be happy if he plays. I'll just leave it at that. We're not going to know until right before the game. So
They did indicate that he might give it a go for Wednesday
yeah,
against NC State. So we'll
yeah, it doesn't sound like it's long term. So I mean, there's a chance he plays. I mean, I guess the terminology Mike Young used was game time decision. Whatever that means to him, we'll find out.
and to me that so maybe it's not a break or maybe it's a break that doesn't require a long time off. Who knows, man? Maybe he's got super fast healing bones, but either way, Ben Hammond, we'll put it at questionable for NC State, but if we see him, that'd be fantastic. Let's go to Stanford. We lost 70-59, but we got out to an early lead. It was 16-4. That lead would shrink. We had a 5-point lead at halftime, though. And in the third, or I should say not third quarter, wait till the ladies till we get there. In the second half, Stanford started turning on. Raynard kind of went nuts. 19 points, 14 rebounds for him. Sellers also had 19. Blake's for Stanford was 17-6. We only shot 4 of 14 from three, and they were all from Ben Burnham. The rest of the team, Ed, 0 of 9 from three. What kind of went wrong in that second half?
Yeah, Burnham, I think, had 3 in a row, and it was like 12 straight points or 9 straight points. Maybe in 4, maybe all 4 in a row to give us 12 straight points. It was
That was
something
the first
ridiculous
half, right?
in the first half, yeah, to extend that lead. I think, it's been talked about on social media and in group chats and stuff, and it's been a theme throughout the year that this team struggled in second halves. And I guess I'll give my take as to why that might be. I attribute that largely to really strong coaching, game plan, and scheme in the first half. But then in the second half, the talent disparity kind of starts to show itself a little bit. You can only kind of scheme your way by so much in terms of, what the coaching staff's asking these guys to do. In the first half, we're seeing really strong game plans and execution. But at the end of the day, as the 40 minutes draws on, I think a little bit of talent and athleticism starts to separate from that really good game plan we might have had in place. Um, I think Stanford's a perfect example of that with what Reynaud and Sellers were able to do in the second half. The two most talented guys on the floor, probably, definitely with Reynaud, took over the game, and in the end, that was the difference. And overall, the Hokies played really well, executed their game plan really well. But at the end of the day, there are some times when talent just overwhelms game plan and execution.
And we're going over there doing a mishmash at point guard. And that happened in the Cal game too. That obviously ended a little bit better, but Shutt had 0 points in 34 minutes against Stanford. Toby led us 15-5 for him. Poteet had 12. And Brown and Rechsteiner doing that point guard duty, I suppose, 3 assists each, which isn't terrible if you had 6 assists from your starting point guard, but we didn't get much from the other guys. And so it was not a great ball movement, not great shooting. And like you said, we just kind of wilted away in the second half. We got beat up on the boards 36-25. For a while, I did kind of talk myself into the fact that we could win that game. And then when we didn't, and I'm like, well, this team's just cursed. We don't have a point guard. We don't have a lot of talent. Of course, we lost it. But we come right back the next game and have another really strong start. I mean, we were out to a 19-point lead at the half. I think it got to as much as 21 against Cal in the second half. We hold on, but it got super dicey, man. It was the exact same thing. Cal never took a second half lead, but they did tie the game. And then I think Poteet got a clutch basket. I think Toby might have got a clutch basket. And we had some unlikely heroes in this one as well.
Yeah, Toby hit a three. The game was tied, and Toby hit a three off of assist from Jaden Young. And then coming out of the timeout, we were able to get the ball into Malagil, and he was able to stick it home
That
to
was a
go up
huge
five,
basket.
I believe. Yeah, I think that kind of pretty much put an end to it. But then they had a shot at the end to tie the game. So, but yeah,
That
but
kid
similar,
can
man. Like
play,
very similar.
Stojakovic.
Yeah, yeah. It was his dad was in the stands too. Um, it was very similar to the Stanford game. Really good game plan, really good execution early. A little bit of the talent. Cal's not that much more talented than we are, but it was a 7-point spread to start the game, and they claw their way back. Unfortunately, we were able to close it out down the stretch, and we've seen now that's twice where Virginia Tech been able to get ACC wins by winning a really tight game late and leaning on Elijah Poteet heavily and doing so both times, both against Miami and Cal. So, along with turnovers being less of a problem in conference play, Elijah Poteet's also been a lot better in conference play, and I think
Yes,
that's been
man.
a huge boost for us. Maybe he was saving that old body for conference play. I don't know what he was doing, but yeah,
And it's
he's been
clutch
great
stuff
since.
that you said.
Yeah. Well,
Like
he's
he
given
won
us
us
what
the
we didn't
Miami game.
have.
Yeah.
Like what we talked about on this podcast, like what we didn't have early on, especially in conference play, was something we could hang our hat on and go get a bucket. And he's done that twice now to close out ACC games. So you're
Yep.
seeing that veteran leadership from him late.
Being our Justin Mutz, so to speak. Like
Yeah.
he's making the plays when we need him. Jaden Young and Tyler Johnson were the guys that I said were the unlikely heroes. Young
Yeah.
led us in points, 14, 4, and 3 for him. His best game since the South Carolina game. And then Johnson had a double-double, 11 and 12. His first double-double of his career, the first double-double in ACC play for a VT freshman since Justin Bibbs back in 2015. So he's in some rarefied air there. Great game out of Tyler Johnson. We needed those guys because, again, Shutt, 0 points in this game. Now, he only played 10 points in this game despite starting. But now that's back-to-back games where we didn't get anything out of our starting two guard. And we still managed to win. We shot 57% from the floor, was a major reason why. And a reason why it was so high from the floor overall, Ed, 8 threes. That's it. That's all we took was 8 threes. It's our fewest of the season.
Yeah. Did a good job getting the ball inside to Malagil, and Toby hit a three, I guess, but Tyler Johnson, he's not going to light it up from three. Didn't even take one in this game. 5 of 7 from the floor. I was shocked to see that Cal only had 2 turnovers.
Yeah,
That
how
was
did they manage that?
pretty crazy to me that they only turned the ball over twice and lost at home. That's nuts. But
Look at what
yeah,
they
I think
shot,
you're going to
though.
see kind of a 2 guard by committee, and it's going to be who's hot that night. I mean, whether it's Shoot or Young. Once Hammond gets back, you can kind of slide Brown back over to that area in terms of minutes, rotation stuff. But he's been playing point guard with Hammond out. But once Hammond's back, I think the combination kind of the 2 Jadens and then Rodney Brown Jr. It'll be kind of a 2 guard by committee and riding the hot hand, and they did that against Cal and Jaden Young, 6 of 11 from the floor with 14 points, one of his better games. And he's a streaky player and played really well in this one. I mean, he had 3 assists as well, and then Brown had 5 assists, and Rexsteiner had 3. 13 turnovers. That's fine. You can get away with that.
Yeah.
So
It's on the
overall,
higher
just
end of the acceptable amount,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but it's it's
10
it's
would be
fine.
10 is like fine. Like
Yeah.
10 is good. 13 is getting there, but overall, yeah, they played a really good team game. I mean, look at the points distribution: 8, 12, 11, 12, 5, 3, 6, 14, and then the 0 from Shoot. But overall, everybody got involved and they were able to get a really good team win out west.
I was happy for Jaden Young because he wants to contribute so badly. Like you can kind of see it in the way he carries himself. He gets excited about plays on the court, and
Yeah, he does.
I I, I want him to be good, and we need him to be good at this point. If we're not going to get as much out of Shut as I keep saying Shoot as we hoped. Um, it would also be really nice to get Rodney Brown back to the 2 and have him
Yeah.
start if we have Hammond. I feel like we'd be a lot better off because then you have
He is a
two these.
smooth operator, man.
Yeah,
He is smooth. Like, I love watching him run the offense, though. Like, there is a part of me that likes him in that role because he just is so smooth with the ball. I mean,
he
he did
is.
have the 3 turnovers, but he also had 5 assists. But,
But if you
again, he's
give
a
two
shooter.
guys those ball handling duties that can both handle it, that are both playing in the backcourt at once, and Rodney's got a little bit of length to him, I think you can get away with that.
Here's an interesting thing that we talked about early in the season that I hadn't thought about until now, and we had talked about, can you play Hammond and Rechsteiner together? The answer was no. But I didn't think about this till right now. You could definitely play Brown with Rechsteiner off the ball. Um, Brown
Yeah.
could play on the ball and it allows you to get Rechsteiner off the ball and take advantage of his shooting ability. So that's something maybe to monitor as we continue to go. And we've seen it a little bit so
Yeah,
far,
they've done a
the
couple
two of them on the
rotations of
floor
that.
together. But how much of that are we going to see when Ben Hammond's back is something I'll be interested to keep an eye on because Brandon Rechsteiner still is one of, if not your best shooter. So keeping him on the floor, even if it's not in an on-ball role, is something I'll try to monitor as Ben Hammond works his way back into the rotation.
Yeah, the guys are getting better at shooting the basketball. I'm wondering if this 2-point emphasis was this just a matchup thing that he saw to shoot this like do you remember the Texas game in the tournament a few years back and we shot like no threes at all? This reminded me of that and I didn't know if like this was like okay, we're going to pick on this because I know we can expose this area or was it just a quirk of not having Hammond and having to do things a little bit differently because we've seen them shoot less threes the last 2 games.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be something that they're trying to emphasize. I would find that hard to believe just because, they like what they have in that department, like Rechsteiner, Shoot, Brown, Young, like they're all and Burnham. I mean, they're all good shooters. So I find that hard to believe. But yeah, they did a great job getting the ball to the basket. Maybe it was something that they were trying to emphasize. I hadn't really given that much thought.
I also thought the defense was just pretty darn good. Now, Cal missed a lot of shots, but
Yeah.
you have to have people in your face to miss shots. So I felt like the defense has been a bit better the last couple games as well. Like if you go back to the Pitt game since St. Joe's, whatever the mark is, overall, the team's just been playing a lot better. Like it's
Yeah.
not perfect. It's a little bit. I said Arizona State last time. We're like, I'm not really sure how we're managing to stick in these games or be 2-3 in the ACC, but they're finding a way. And as we go forward here, Ed, like if we beat NC State on Wednesday, we'll be 500 in ACC play. Like, and it's a
Yeah.
home game, so that would
I
be
mean,
pretty
we
fantastic.
really could be already, man. Like that Pitt game that we let get away, we really could be already.
Yeah.
They've done well in the ACC. I don't know if it's the coaching staff and Coach Young are familiar with their opposing coaches or what that might be, but they've played much better against ACC opponents than they did in the non-conference, which is really weird.
Yeah, they just might have been coming together at the right time. And as for the West Coast trip, like I know they're not great teams. Like Cal is sub 100 in the Ken Palm. Stanford is just over or just inside the top 100. Not great teams, but you're going all the way to the West Coast. You play pretty well in both games and you split. Like
Yeah,
I think that's a huge success for this team without a point guard, by the way, without the starting point guard. I know we're filling that gap. We're trying to, but you still split the trip anyway, getting 0 points out of your starting 2 while you're out there as well. So I cannot complain at all. We got good bench points from Burnham in the one game and Young in the second game. We're going to have to continue to have one of those guys step up. But it's NC State on Wednesday, January 15th, and then Wake also in Castle on the 18th, which is Saturday. Neither one of those teams is having the seasons they wanted to.
yeah, and Castle gives you such an advantage. I think we'll look at for this podcast purposes, we'll look at most games in twos because that's kind of how we've been recording cadence wise anyway. So again, man, if you can split, if you beat NC State, lose the Wake, or vice versa, if you can split, um, continue to feel really good about our what do we project 6 or 5 ACC wins? We're already at
Right,
2,
right.
so
I think we
we
were
get another
like, if you
split, we'll be
averaged
feeling
us out,
pretty
I
good
think we were
about
about at
ourselves.
5. So yeah, we have 2. We could get a third, and getting to the 10-win mark on the season, we're only 3 away right now. So if
Yeah,
you can if
and
you can
yeah,
get one of these next 2 at home, you'll have a really good shot at getting to double digit wins. Which I'm just having more fun watching the team play over the last
yeah.
couple weeks. So that
Yeah, they're not turning the
that's
ball over. The
yeah.
product is better to watch when they're not turning the ball over as much as they were early on. It was unwatchable a few times with the amount they were just kicking at the other team, and and they've done a
Mhm.
better job taking care of it. And as a result, they've been in games and able to close out two of them.
Let's move to the ladies' side of things, Ed. They are 12-4. They won both their games this past week. In fact, they had an amazing week. We talked about the Georgia Tech game. Well, we spoke it into existence. They get the upset down in Atlanta, take down an undefeated team, a top 15 team, in an double overtime thriller. It was back and forth throughout. What do you think was the story of the game? Just whether it was for the Hokies or overall, what was the story of this Georgia Tech game?
Man, I don't know. All five starters had over 15 points. Now a part of that is double overtime.
It's a lot of
My
points, though.
story, my star, and I know, Rose Mishra, ACC Player of the Week. We'll just get that out there now. That's awesome. So cool for her. She's had a crazy year with the triple double and now this ACC Player of the Week. Just the stuff you would not have foreseen based on how limited her role was a year ago. But my story of the Georgia Tech game, the following game as well, and really the whole season for the girls is the emergence of Carly Wenzel and how good she is. She's a legitimate number one option in Power Five basketball. She's fantastic. She finished with 24 and 10 against Georgia Tech and is an absolute killer late. She makes huge plays and huge moments. Did it a lot against Wake. Um, but yeah, 7 of 17, 5 of 9 from three, 5 of 8 from the line. Only two
3
turnovers and
steals.
10 assists. Yeah, it was fantastic against Georgia Tech, and that's kind of been the theme of the season. And she's a legit number one option for a Power Four program right now.
Yeah, 24 points is no joke, man. When you're putting up that kind of stuff, that's a more Kitley type status. To drop 20 plus in these games is not easy. Lonnie White also had 25, 4, 2, and 1. She stuffed the stat sheet. Baker and Eck both had 17. You mentioned all the starters getting to 17 plus. We shot 44% from three as a team, one of our best games of the year. And we only played 7 girls in this
Yeah.
game. I, I'm curious as to why that was because our rotation's been a bit larger than that, and especially with how long of a game this was, I'm shocked we only played 7. Maybe someone was dealing with something we don't know about.
Well, Samaya Sufferin's out, so that doesn't help.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
But the biggest thing, like you're looking at this, they played a double overtime game and only turned the ball over 10 times,
Man,
winning
that's
that
awesome.
winning that turnover category by 5. And they did get beat on the glass. You're gonna expect that with this team. They're just not that big. Especially with the reserves being just Peterson and Nelson in this one. They're just not that big of a team. So there are gonna be nights where they're giving something up on that end in terms of rebounding. But yeah, 10 turnovers and all the starters over 17 points. Go down and beat an undefeated team. That's pretty awesome stuff for Megan Duffy's team.
It was more or less a perfectly game planned game. And you had said on one of the threads, like, we had a chance to close this thing out in
Oh,
regulation, in
repeatedly. Yeah.
single
Oh yeah.
overtime, and we just kept missing our chance. Well, when the second overtime came, we didn't miss our chance. We
Yeah.
opened it up. We ended up winning by 9 points. And I'm so glad that we held on to that win. Because if we had lost that heartbreaker, it
Yeah.
might have it wouldn't have sunk our chances at the tournament, but now it flips the complete other way because this is a huge quality win and just a huge road win too. Like, and some of the girls for Georgia Tech went nuts. The one girl had 33 and 10. That was done, and then 28 for Morgan, but we managed to beat them in their house. So that couldn't have gone better. Now, the Wake game, we won 61-54. This was a classic, like you're coming down from a big game and you just need to get the W because Wake is not very good. And our girls kind of played with their food a bit, but they ended up taking care of business at the end. It was a sloppy game. 17 turnovers for Wake and 19 for us.
Yeah, it was really sloppy. And yeah, we won the first quarter, we won the second quarter, and then come out of the halftime, lost the third quarter by 9. But then we were able to buckle back down and only give up 8 points in the fourth. But yeah,
Yep.
Wake was not a very good team. Girls struggle with foul trouble. Carly Wens only played 17 minutes. She only finished with 9 points and did have 5 assists, but only
Why do you
finished
think
with
she
nine
only
points.
played 17 minutes?
It looks like she was in foul trouble. I mean, she had 4 fouls for the
Yeah,
game.
that's what it was. You're right. Okay.
So it had to be that. But the 9 points, I'm pretty sure 7 of them came in the last 2 minutes. She just, yeah, it was winning time. She turned it up, hit a couple of shots, got to the line, got fouled a couple times, and turned it on when she needed to. But yeah, you're right. It was a classic young team coming off of a really big high. letdown spot. And you're right. I'm super glad they were able to pull that out because that would have been a nice ding on the resume, and we were able to avoid it.
20 for Rose again. That's why she was able to
ACC
win Player of
ACC
the
Player of
Week.
the Week.
So cool, man. It wasn't pretty. They get the win. They moved to 3-2 in the ACC. It wasn't just that Rose had 20. Didn't she have, was it 9 boards? 9 of
9,
9
yeah,
from the floor and 9 boards. She hit
and
all the
9 boards.
shots she took. So just an incredible week by her. I was hoping, I texted you. I was like, could we get ranked this week? You're like, nah, it's not going to happen this week. And you were right. We didn't actually get a single vote, though, which kind of ticks me off just a little bit after beating an undefeated Georgia Tech team. There are 6 ACC teams already ranked, though. And then you have Florida State getting some receiving votes, and Louisville, it's kind of bullshit. They're not ranked. They're also getting just a couple receiving votes. We play UVA on Thursday, and then we play that Louisville team who's 5-1 in the ACC at home on Sunday. They've won 6 in a row. My guess is that the winner of the Louisville Virginia Tech game could very well pop into the rankings.
Yeah, probably. I think I saw a stat. It was like I think 10 or 11 ACC teams of the top 50 in net in women's basketball. Like the league is just dominates women's basketball. But yeah, the Virginia game, Virginia's not quite that good. We should be able to, knock on wood, take care of business if we play, the way we've been playing recently. Take care of business with that one at home, and then yeah, Louisville. Jeff Wall's coming into the building that doesn't have Kenny Brooks in it. I'm sure he'll be really excited about that.
Yeah, right. The UVA game, this is the first time they're playing since the Kitley injury. I don't know how much that will factor in. It's not like it's revenge. It's not like UVA hurt her or something like that. It's just that game is still just burned into my memory, and I want to shake it off any way we can. And getting a big win in Castle would help that.
Yeah, got to slow down Kymora Johnson. She's a really good player.
Yeah, they're good.
She's a really, really good player. So slow her down, take care of business, and beat your rival at home.
Yeah, man. Do you have any kind of closing thoughts here? Any more updates for us? Didn't Kentucky just lose to somebody?
No.
Didn't they lose to UNC, or was that before?
No, they beat UNC earlier. Or no, did they lose to UNC? I don't remember. Billy Ray was at that game. No updates on that front. I just, for the men, want to keep an eye on the turnovers, because if they keep those down, they've been in games. Whenever they keep the turnovers down, they're in games.
Yeah.
I am intrigued by that thought I had mid-podcast about what happens when Ben Hammond comes back, and how does that impact how you play Rodney Brown and Rex Steiner together. I think that helps you get another scoring threat on the floor, and helps Rex Steiner not have to handle the ball as much where he struggled. So curious to see how that goes if and when Ben does come back in the next 2 games. And keep feeding Elijah Poteet, man, as much as he can handle it. Give him the ball down low, because he can go up with both hands right now, and it's just so big and strong that it takes a lot to knock him off the ball. And he can be a force when you get him the ball in his spots. So hopefully we can get more out of Jaden Shoot. But ride the hot hand at the 2-guard position, and we'll see where it takes us.
Yeah, Poteet is becoming reliable. Toby's becoming more reliable. They're both slowly but surely cutting down on their turnovers. We need that other piece, whether it's Rodney Brown or Ben Hammond if he comes back. Just that a third or fourth guy that we can just be like, all right, I trust this guy. Because we didn't know a lot of these guys from Adam before the season started, and we're learning who we can trust and who we can't. And I think Brown could be that guy. Burnham he's kind of on and then off and then on and then off. But I think he's gotten better within Mike Young's system too. So it's exciting. I really want to take care of NC State on Wednesday. I really want to get that one. I don't feel as confident about Wake, but they're both in the Castle, so we'll see. All right.
Yeah, Wake's got better players. They got a little bit of a higher upside. I agree. Hopefully we can take care of NC State, and then Wake becomes a little bit of a house money situation.
Yeah, it's the Forbes thing too. I just feel like him and Mike Young, like Forbes gets the better of him for whatever reason. Anyway,
they've coached against each other a long time.
Yeah, man. Well, this was good, dude. I'm glad we got this in. We'll be coming back as soon as we can to do the recap of these games and look forward into ACC play. But until next time, go Hokies.